Hi everyone, delonewolf here. Welcome back for some more EVE Online, and in today's video I want to ramble a little bit, share my thoughts on Project Nova for this video while I do a little bit of exploration in the background. But before we get started, maybe a quick couple of updates on things that have been happening. For instance, when it comes to the contracts, you guys know that I've expanded my library of BPCs from just Orcas and then the structure blueprints to also include some carriers and some freighters. You can see 21 days and 22 hours, so we're practically 6 days into the sale that I attempted to make, and everything has sold except for the Chimera blueprint, which if we press view contract is 12.5 million, and the Thanatos blueprint, which is also a pretty cheap one, at less than 6.5 million. So some people ask me, why the hell am I undercutting so much for some of these new blueprints? Well, it is to gauge the market to see what sells easily at an undercut price and what just doesn't move pretty much regardless of the price. And we can clearly see that the freighters move very quickly, the carriers not so much. So we get 2 Orca blueprints still trying to be sold as well. Those normally will be done before these 21 days are over. Same with the 2 Raiterus. The Tatara though, that one might elapse because it is well, an L structure, something that is not that easy to move these days. So that's the update on the blueprint copy business. I also have a quick update on the ship that we're going to fly. It is the Ishtar, but a viewer actually donated a ligature integrated analyzer, freeing up a mid slot for an omnidirectional tracking link with tracking speed script, which should make my drones even more deadly in the combat site. So let's get out there and yeah, let's talk a little bit about Project Nova. Basically the planned successor for Dust 514, which I think was like a relative success for CCP. Unfortunately on the wrong console, of course, the old PlayStation, that was never going to last that long, and as a result eventually that game closed down, merged or transformed into Project Nova. And well, we had a demo, I think at the Las Vegas from last year, where the feedback basically told CCP to go back to the drawing board. And well, what I find interesting is that CCP is currently hiring for their London team for an unannounced action MMO. So to me, this indicates that they're trying to increase the scale of Project Nova, and I think that's the right way to go. I personally love the concept of having a shooter set in the harsh EVE Online universe. I think that is very cool and full of potential, especially if we could use our EVE Online characters to somehow transfer our consciousness to an FPS clone. Just get started on planets, in stations, on ships, whatever it is that they can make, and that we basically have this continuity, this feeling that, yeah, this is my character living in the EVE Online universe, and he can make a living being a capsuleer, but he can also make a living being a soldier, mercenary, whatever it is that they want to do in Project Nova in an FPS environment. And honestly, if you want to make that work and give it the harsh feeling, the sandbox feeling, the hardcore feeling that EVE Online has, I think they have to go in a massive scale. The only way to achieve that would be to go for something along the lines of PlanetSide 2, where you have hundreds versus hundreds battling it out on a really massive map. That gives you that feeling of, okay, this is way bigger than me. I'm just you know, a small soldier trying to deal with what's happening around me. And unlike like the current iteration of let's go to Dashnas, the current iteration of FPS, which is like definitely heavily focused on smaller teams, you know, think about things like Overwatch, for instance. That's just like, I think is that 5 versus 5 or 6 versus 6. There you are basically one of the big heroes, someone that can completely dominate, change the match, things like that. It's the opposite of EVE Online. There you're very small, you're just a tiny cog in a massive machine that could be alliances, could be maybe the Empires versus the Triglavians. I think that would be very cool. But yeah, if you want to have a Project Nova that fits in the EVE Online universe as being basically part of the sandbox and being something where death matters, where there's consequences, where there's a sandbox economy of creation and destruction, where whatever the currency is that you want to put in that game, preferably ISK of course, has value, then you're gonna want to go, I think, to a bigger scale game than I think especially the last demo that what's currently mostly available on the market, except for PlanetSide 2. That would basically be the model that I'm looking at, and I think it's entirely possible and full of potential. I mean, could you imagine, right off the bat, of course, you gotta like downscale your expectations. You can't expect there to be like a full sandbox ready for alliances to form, take over multiple planets, to put up massive facilities and all of that stuff. No, you need basically like a first chapter for something like that to be feasible. And well, we are talking about the invasions right now. How cool would it be if, for instance, the Triglavians would finally, through scouting our space, discover their own home planet that is, of course, completely deserted at this point. It's a lifeless planet, but underneath the surface there's like Triglavian technology that comes back online, and that's where the fight will happen. And that way you can have, damn, that's a generous 100 million donation right now. So that fight would be happening there, and there you could just have a two-sided battle, but you could make it very epic in scale. You could choose to fight for the empires, or you could choose to fight for the Triglavians, who are trying to reconquer their ancient home and reconquer their place in what we know as New Eden. So you could then have like a massive planet. You could have like different districts that could be servers, depending on what the technology can actually handle. But there you would have something that would fit in EVE Online, that would have the potential of having its own sandbox economy, and that I think would share in the harshness of the New Eden universe that we know at the moment. And if you want to go the other route, which I think is possible, of course, and considering the current gaming environment, the current gaming market, might be something that CCP is actually also thinking about, right? If you want to go the 5 versus 5 co-op against each other, maybe even battle royale modes, things like that. Well, the way I would look at it then is you can't have the harshness in there. Then you're gonna have to make Project Nova basically a sport that exists in New Eden, rather than have it be like a real massive battle with actual stakes. Now, that could also be something that the Triglavians, which we know really love, basically proving yourself through combat. That's a very important aspect of the Triglavian community. And so that is something that they eventually, as they find their place as the 5th race in EVE Online, could introduce in the game. They could decide that, well, we like our blood sports, and Capsuleers are actually perfect for that, since they are immortals. And then you could build stations that are basically massive arenas where Capsuleers could then dock, jump into their Nova clone, and take part in many playstyles as you want. Basically everything that already exists on the gaming market. I'm talking IRL then. You could have team fights, you could have capture the flag, you could have battle royale. You could create all of that as being a sport in New Eden that is introduced by the Triglavians. Could that have success? Well, I think it could. It would also, of course, lower the expectations of scale, of harshness, when it comes to, I think, what players expect out of Project Nova. And yeah, this is, I think, something that CCP, of course, has to decide. Right now, if the hiring that they're doing is for an MMO, I think that they want the sandbox nature. I think that they want a bigger scale, which would be my personal dream, right? Definitely start with that. Give us a PlanetSide 2 set in the EVE Online universe, so we can go out there and do the EVE Online stuff, but in an FPS. That would, in my opinion, be absolutely amazing. But of course, the gaming industry itself has evolved a lot since EVE Online first came out, and right now shooters, they tend to be in short rounds. Definitely no lasting losses or effect or anything like that. More like massive unlock grinds that are basically a reality, with where stats and leaderboards and things like that are more important than anything else. And yeah, there is a way to do that, but how well does that fit into the EVE Online universe? I'm not really sure. I can see it work. I would definitely try it out, but I would personally be a little bit less excited than imagining a PlanetSide 2 MMO experience coming to the EVE Online universe. Now, that would be cool, of course. And then the real question, of course, for me personally would be, would I be able to fly Mizuko or to have Mizuko be my clone in Project Nova, regardless of which form it takes? I think that would be by far the coolest. You don't even necessarily have to be able to jump or dock at a certain location in order to take part of the activity. You know, just launching into the other game could basically be like jump cloning into your Nova clone and then going out there in your FPS universe, which is basically tied to EVE Online, but you don't need that direct link right off the bat. Of course, if we do go the massive scale way, then eventually, right, I could choose to earn ISK either by doing stuff like what you're seeing here, exploring in EVE Online, being a Encapsulator, flying out there into space, or I could perhaps earn ISK, you know, running stuff in Project Nova with my same character, then of course in his own suit of armor, for instance, which I think that's how Dust 514 worked, had basically a fitting window like this one, where you had to put in modules, and then when you die, those are destroyed, and you have to get backups and things like that. That could be very, very cool, of course, and I think the ultimate dream of you know, having an FPS feature that would fit in the EVE Online universe. And basically, those are my thoughts on Project Nova. I think it's full of potential. It's very cool. Ever since it was first announced that you know, CCP was thinking about an FPS project for the EVE Online universe, I personally have been excited for that. And well, we can go in many different directions. I hope that CCP can actually manage to find something that works for them. They can develop it so that we can have that experience. And yeah, for me, the biggest plus would basically be the integration of the EVE Online Alpha and Omega clones into that Project Nova prospect as well. You know, I'm not a developer, of course, or anything like that. As I've said, I don't have, or did I say that at the beginning of the video? I personally don't have any real information, so this is probably just rambling and wishful thinking on my part, but I think a lot of this has a lot of potential. And yeah, PlanetSide 2 set in the EVE Online universe, where I could take Mizuko out there and start battling it for a side. Maybe it's an NPC side to start out with, and then eventually the game can evolve towards alliances, corporations, and things like that. I think that would be very, very cool, of course. And so yeah, I'm still definitely waiting and hoping that CCP can bring out information on Project Nova, that it's still ongoing, and that eventually we'll be able to actually enjoy that game as well. Which I must say, yeah, the lack of EVE FanFest this year is also part of the reason why I'm thinking about all of this, because there has been, in my opinion, no real hype building around EVE Online or the EVE universe this year, last year, 2019, however you want to call it, because we didn't have a FanFest. It's definitely been a pretty strange year, especially looking at, well, BlizzCon now. Sure, there's lots of controversy around BlizzCon, but Diablo 4, I'm looking forward to that. That's on my radar. You know, I love Diablo 3, I love Path of Exile. I'm like 90% sure that I'm gonna jump in on Diablo 4 on that launch day. We've got the expansion for the World of Warcraft, something that we usually did get at least every couple of years from CCP as well, an announcement for an expansion. Okay, WoW is not for everyone, and you know, I'm not gonna go hardcore on any treadmills, but I kinda like the concept of the Shadowlands, and for me personally, the story of Sylvanas basically never being the leader of the Horde in order to be the leader of the Horde, but to eventually take revenge on the Lich King. kind of makes sense to me personally. So I thought it was a pretty cool way to go. Then we'll have ExileCon as well. That's coming. I think that's like the next weekend or something like that. What is GGG going to do with Path of Exile? Potentially lots of hype there as well. And so yeah, when it comes to EVE Online, something like a Project Nova, of course, could be, in my opinion, a bit more hype building than, unfortunately, the mobile games that they've been coming out with. Well, it's the same for Dust 514. That was on a PlayStation, and I'm a PC gamer at heart. Maybe a little bit of elitism to say that, but yeah, I am a PC gamer. I'm not a mobile gamer at all, and I can't see myself jump into Eve Echoes or any of the other mobile games that CCP is planning. I can understand from a business perspective where this is coming from, right? The Asian market is absolutely mind-blowing how big it is. They are now partnered, owned by a Korean company, so you know that you're gonna have some focus set on that definitely makes sense as well. But for me as an EVE Online player, yeah, zero hype when it comes to the mobile games, because I'm not a mobile gamer, I'm a PC gamer. So that's where I personally want to see CCP's next game, and yeah, hopefully it will be Project Nova. I think it's got a lot of potential, and I'm not sure if we'll ever get it, but yeah, I personally am hopeful, and I'm gonna keep the hype a little bit up in myself to see what CCP decides to do. Unfortunately, nothing good when it comes to exploration here. This one is really tough to discover, so that's probably gonna be one of the data caches which you wanna mostly run in like a Tech Tree Cruiser or something like that. Yep, there we go, data site. So we're not gonna do that. I guess to finish the video, it's only a couple jumps back to Dital. We could finish this this one round and see what we come across. So we also had a couple of relic sites. I could have shown, yeah, the micro updrive. Also a change very specifically to go after the data sites and to go after the relic sites, because it cuts down on the travel time by quite a bit. It does mean that you need to be a little careful about how you fly your ship there, because overshooting the containers is actually possible with the micro updrive. And yeah, special thanks again for the Ligature integrated analyzer. This stuff is worth like 90 million ISK and just freed up a mid slot for me, so that's pretty cool. My Ishtar is now even stronger at its job. Let's see what we got here. Just an emerging conduit. Then we've got one more system left, SSAMA. Let's see if there's anything here. Talking about the emerging conduits, if you saw last week's video, yeah, very awesome tip there. Something that I'm now also using on the rattlesnake when it comes to the conduits. I just warp straight on top of the rift itself, and that leaves a lot of travel time out of your conduits, which means a lot of time saved as well. So that was pretty damn amazing. And as we finally get to Isesama, let's see what we got there. Would be good to also end up with a good combat site, although I've already found a decent 3 out of 10 not that long ago, so exploration has been going decently well. And we have 2 of them with a refuge. Oh, no, there we go. Now it updates, only 1 of them left. Must have been the last time that I was in the system that it looked like that. So I suspect that this will be a wormhole. I'm actually in the wrong spot as well. Yeah, people keep telling me, by the way, always double click what it is you want to scan so that it's nice and centered. That definitely helps as well. I would not have made this mistake had I done that first. We're not that bad, but you can see now. Oh, I should have just gone down because it's gotta be down here. And then we get a thorax here. That shouldn't be an explorer, so that should be okay. Yep, should have definitely gone down quite a bit more. Let's see what this is. Expecting a wormhole, to be honest, since everything was run. Let's maybe already go to Dital. Oh, it's a combat site. Yeah, maybe I'll stop. Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is. Oh, by the way, I would also... Rogue Drone Asteroid. Not that great, but maybe we could run it. and see if the final casket drops anything good. And then also show you guys, of course, with this omnidirectional tracking link, that rogue drone asteroid, that my Ishtar is actually... Oh, will the Ishtar be able to run that? Tick 3 cruiser. Kinda doubting it. Well, no, it's 3 out of 10. Should be fine. Should be fine to run this. So let's get in this rogue drone asteroid so that you guys get some actual EVE gameplay as well in this video, not just crazy ramblings about a cook hoping for a cool Project Nova. And then maybe the second casket can sometimes actually drop a good faction item as well. I usually skip these, the rogue drone asteroids, but they can potentially yield good loot as well. Very low drop rates though, if I'm not mistaken. So let's get in here and yeah, show this Ishtar in action. This is the Galente Police Department. Slowly aligning. Finally, there we go. And so we get our first few rats waiting for us. Best to just go with a couple small drones. Approach the gates. F to pay respects. Next one targeted, just put one drone on there. It's really not gonna be a problem. Blop, blop, blop. No misses. Nothing. These guys get back in on time. Yep, they did. And there we go. That's pretty smooth. And then the second room, you do have some of these rats that are quite far away. But normally, you'll see my sentry drones should actually be able to handle all of that. So here we go. Second room. Starting out at 34. These are also like pretty much the smallest targets that you'll have to go up against. So I think this is a good showcase and potentially also showing the nice potential of this extra mid slot as to what it can do for this Ishtar. So this is actually not a bad example. Look at that. Lovely one shot. Lovely one shot. How many misses here? We're not seeing any misses. So that's already pretty damn nice for all these rats. 35 plus out. Then we get one there that's at 42. Not a problem. So none of these come close. We get a couple more left. And then back there we've got a Splinter Avi and a Render Avi that usually are stuck around the asteroid. So they'll stay at around 65 kilometers for now. This guy is at 48, at 50, and then at 49. Let's take a look at that. Blop, just gone. That's not so bad. And so, blop, he's gone. And then we get a final one over here that just took half a shot. Gone without any problem as well. And then let's see if we can take on the Render from this. Look at that. Even from this range, 64 kilometers out. It's only 2 out of 3, but luckily this target is pretty slow. And pretty weak, so even a one shot is possible at this range. Yeah, I love this Ishtar. Look at that versatility, look at how good that is. This first casket, I've never seen anything of real value drop from that, so we're gonna skip it. And now, let's look at the second efficiency booster. Also a big help in the 4 out of 10, of course. Micro updrive is gonna cut down on this traveling time by quite a bit, so that's awesome too. Definitely a change that I should have done sooner. Basically, this is an evolution from my very old days in like a Tech 1 cruiser, for instance. Well, sometimes you gotta move, and as a result, I don't want to micro updrive when I need to basically tank the damage. Here, it's all about the travel time, so this is great. Look at that time, not bad. And then we have the second room. That's most often a bit more of a challenge to get everything down with just the sentries, but we'll give it a go. So we're slow enough. These guys here at 21, they can be a bit of a problem. So let's maybe first press F so that all of them will automatically switch to other targets, go like that, and let's see how my lasers do. Ooh, one-shotting as well. That's nice. Then we get slightly stronger rats that haven't even targeted me. Okay, that's nice. Thank you for not bothering to even target me. Closest one, 22 kilometers. Let's add the laser on that one. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, that one is down, no problem. Another one at 23. Can add the lasers. Another one at 24. Go, go, go. Oh, damn. Got done, no problem. So the rest of them are actually at like an optimal range for my guards. Around 30 kilometers. We'll press like that, and not even a single shot, I think, has made it to my Ishtar, and these guys are all just being taken down without any real problem. Final one. Let's press F, take him down. He does orbit, so that was a little bit trickier. Oh, and there's one that I forgot. God damn it. One Arachula Apis that is still hovering around here. Well, let's quickly take him out as well, but with a bit more attention on my part, we would have definitely taken all of these drones out just with the sentries. And that is, yeah, the power of the Ishtar. This is super fast, super smooth as well. And the omnidirectional tracking, I didn't see a lot of misses, so that felt pretty good. Let's head for the scratched casket. Let's see if there's anything good in that. These mineral containers, I usually don't bother with it, but here, if I'm not mistaken, I mean, it's been a really long time since I actually ran any of these. What I've seen drop here is like a micro-op drive, I think, a faction micro-op drive or something like that. And I think maybe, unfortunately, there's nothing here. There's also like some drone faction stuff that can drop as well. Well, we'll do a final check in detail. There was nothing there when we undocked. Perhaps after all of that rambling, we'll find something else there as well. But yeah, just to reiterate, I am absolutely enjoying EVE Online, and it would be an absolute dream for me personally if I could take my character, Mizuko, put him in a Nova clone, and go out there and have an FPS experience as well. Pretty much no matter what CCP comes up with, I'm willing to try everything. I think there's cool lore potential when it comes to the Triglavians to actually introduce that. And yeah, hopefully CCP can continue the development and can eventually come out with a product for us. Only a refuge and a den. So I'm gonna continue. We are going to run that refuge, and I'll also do the den, and then I'll do a second round, which should be even faster. But that's gonna be it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I'll see you next time.